Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, hailing from Kokona, Wisconsin, riding a CST Tires SSI decals traveling back Yamaha YFC 450R, four-time ATV Motocross National Champion, number 25, Cody Jansen.
I did work for, Travis Spader, the Jackson boy, Benny Jackson, and all of his friends, Joe Bird, John Natale, Dustin Wimmer, Pat Brown, Thomas Brown, the Jansen boy, Doug Gust. And I suppose that, you have a relationship with some of these riders that kind of put you up on a wave and you go for a hell of a ride.
What's up, everybody? We're back. Welcome to the latest edition of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, episode 104 of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, in stock and available for purchase today at shop.csttires.com. I'm your host, Cody Jansen, saying hello to our more than 199,000 monthly Digging Deep listeners in all 101 countries in which you are listening, and this is our highly anticipated episode featuring legendary engine builder from TC Racing Engines, Mr. Tom Carlson. Tom Carlson is a four-stroke specialist who is part of many firsts in ATV racing. He built engines for nearly every legend that you can think of, and you'll soon find out that this man will never run out of stories. In this, an episode as highly anticipated as any in recent memory, you'll hear stories that have never been told before, all the DRZ Hybrid talk that you could possibly want, plenty of three-wheeler talk, and more right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. Tom Carlson is the freaking man, so get ready. With that, as I don't want to slow us down anymore, let's quickly shout out all of our incredible partners. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thank you SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Binky's Forever ATC Museum, a special shout out to Impact Solutions, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. On the last couple episodes, you heard the big news from Manscaped as they announced they are making the jump into the beard products game. And I still believe we are somewhat responsible for speaking this into existence. Introducing the Beard Hedger Pro Kit from Manscaped. The Beard Hedger Pro Kit is the ultimate beard care bundle. A premium beard sculpting machine, the Beard Hedger allows dudes like you and I to style our beards exactly to our liking with a zoom wheel featuring 20 different built-in lengths. Now you're speaking my language, Manscaped. Get 20% off with free shipping by using code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. So rad that Manscaped is continuing to invest in ATV racing as a longtime partner of Digging Deep. Help us keep them in the fold and involved in ATV racing by using our Digging Deep 20 code so they know you enjoy digging deep and what we're all about here. Support all the great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. The 2023 season is right around the corner. We are freaking stoked, but we both know you still need parts and gear. No matter what off-road gear parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. But before you buy, simply click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website. By using our specific link, we get a percentage of what you buy on the back end, enabling you to help us out while purchasing the parts you need anyway. And did you know that you can buy OEM parts from Rocky Mountain ATVMC as well? Yep, shipped conveniently right to your door. So click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner at diggingdeepatvmx.com to help us out while satisfying all your gear and parts needs. No new donors to shout out this week, but if you are interested in donating and hearing your name on our show, you can find the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee donation links on our website. Major thanks to all who have donated, and if you can't donate but want to help us out, you can rate and leave us a review on iTunes and Spotify. That helps us a bunch. And a reminder, as you're listening to this one, grab your phone, head over to atvfantasy.com, and sign up for the new season of Digging Deep ATV Fantasy. You know the drill. It's a one-time sign-up fee. You get your whole season pass. You get to compete against us, my Digging Deep crew, pro riders, industry insiders, your friends, and hundreds of others in ATV fantasy. We'll award weekly and season-ending prizes, of course. So sign up today at atvfantasy.com and start assembling your 4-rider team for Daytona. That's atvfantasy.com. And just a quick note here, Tom is going to reference some photos in this interview. We have those photos on our social media pages for you to check out as we speak, and I'm going to work on getting those added to YouTube as well. But now it's showtime. The 30-second board is up, it's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep. Let's go. All right, guys, we're back here for yet another episode of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, and I can't believe I have this guest sitting in front of me here now. We are in season 5 of this podcast, 104 episodes in now. We have hundreds of hours worth of content to show for it, but I've wanted to get this guy on our show since the very beginning, and today it's finally happening. Brought to you by CST Tires. Whether on the moto track or in the woods, Joel Hetrick and Bryson Neal left no doubt that CST is the industry leader in sport ATV tires. Visit shop.csttires.com today to see their full line of products, where we suggest the Pulse MXR front and white label soft compound rear tires, of course. And with that, I am so proud to welcome an ATV racing legend, a pioneer, and a man who truly played a major role in writing the history of the sport that we all know and love. From TC Racing Engines, say hello to the one and only Mr. Tom Carlson. Tom, what an honor this is for me. Thank you so much for being here, buddy. This means the world to me.
Cody, what's happening? Glad to be here.
I am so grateful, Tom, to be sitting here with you in front of me. This is an absolute pleasure.
It's hard to believe I'm the old man of the class.
No, man. This is so exciting to have this conversation, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention and thank your friend there, Marty Antenbruck, right from the top for helping make this happen. He played middleman, got you all set up there, and major thanks to him. But what a blessing this is to have you in front of me here now. So, and I'll tell you how this all happened. So I posted a picture on our social media channel of Doug and the DRZ powered, hybrid from back in the day. And, every time I post something about that, Tom, we get all kinds of comments and all kinds of people sharing memories and whatever. And Marty weighed in and said he knew you and kind of worked alongside you maybe now and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is my in, because I've been wanting to get in touch with you for the longest time. I've tried, but nothing ever worked. And so I'm like, man, I'm gonna just shoot my shot, see if he can kind of play middleman and get me in front of Tom and make this happen. And lo and behold, here we are. So what a special thing. And like I said, thanks to him. We'll talk to him a little later in the episode, but I'm so grateful for this.
Sounds good, Cody.
So Tom, so many of our listeners are over the moon right now. We're, like I said to you before we hit record on this thing, is we got so many people that are excited to hear from you. But for the younger listeners that, maybe aren't as well versed with the stuff from yesteryear, before we go into your full story, I want to make sure everyone knows how big of a deal you are in the history of ATV racing. And for starters, you've built engines for riders like Travis Spader, Ben Jackson, Joe Bird, John Natale, Dustin Wimmer, Pat Brown, Thomas Brown, and the list goes. Jeremy Schell, right? And the list goes on, including that DRZ powered hybrid that we referenced that you guys built for Digger, Doug Gust back in the day. So we'll dig into all that, of course. We'll get into all the stuff that people want to hear from, and the fact that you're a 4-stroke guru, of course, as well. But I'm sure as you sit here today, Tom, much of your life has been spent, in the ATV racing realm, and that in itself has to be a blessing as you think of all the years kind of doing something that you love.
Well, I started racing motorcycles when I was 16, 17 years old. I worked at a Honda shop as the only employee at 18 years old back when the motorcycle boom was there. We had Honda, we had all the manufacturers, motorcycles everywhere. And I was a local mechanic. And of course, I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to have any comebacks. And people were bringing motors in bushel baskets that I didn't even take apart. And so I took shop manuals and parts books. There was no microfiches. There was no computers. Everything was looking at books.
Sure.
So after surviving, that, you became quite confident that you could fix this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent all my money on racing parts for my bikes, whether it be Power Roll or like I went road racing. I was AMA district champion when 1975.
Wow.
Because I was a racing nut. I would motocross on Friday night. I'd motocross on Saturday and Sunday. I might do a hare scrambles. I went road racing twice. I went road racing at Pocono Speedway, going 165 mile per hour on a turbocharged Honda. I went to Montreal, Massport, Canada by Toronto.
Okay.
And I'm only 23 years old.
Wow. So you've done a little of everything, Tom.
I spent all my money on racing cars, trying to learn about what they're doing. So yeah, I was mechanically inclined to put things together so they don't blow up, but that was it. I had no real knowledge of. I did buy some cylinder heads for my 750 Honda. That the pinnacle of porting was done by a shop in California called Branch Flowmetrics.
Okay.
And that's where everybody sent their head, and they were a work of art. Absolutely gorgeous. So I remember what they looked like so that I would try to do that, to my own stuff when people could see it.
Yeah, mimic it.
Once motors run, it looks like a used head, but when it's brand new, it's pretty cool.
Of course.
I tried to do that. And so, yeah, then it went into other things. And, I went into road racing with Dale Singleton.
Okay.
Dale Singleton won Daytona 2 times, 1979, 1981. And they invited him to come to Montreal to the race up there to promote their race for the Victoria Day Sprints, which was at Massport.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to watch. And after Daytona, Dale would go to Europe to win some money because he was better than those guys. He wasn't really better than the Americans, but he could make money over there.
Sure.
They didn't pay for him to bring his mechanics, so he had his high school friends working on the bike. They had the wheel on the garage floor, and they're changing tires. There's a 15-gallon drum sitting right next to me. I says, guys, put that tire on the drum. So I grabbed the tire on it, and I changed that tire.
Okay.
Dale Singleton standing 10 feet away. I grabbed that wheel and I put it back on this road race. It's a Formula One motorcycle. It's a Japanese road race bike. It's a 4-cylinder Yamaha OW01, 4 electron carbs, 4 expansion chambers.
Okay.
And I wired the whole thing up. And then Dale comes over and introduces himself to me. He wants to know who the hell I am. I'm just nobody. I work on motorcycles at a Honda shop. And so the following year he called me up. Well, actually, we talked that he would pay me to come to a race if he needed help again.
Okay.
So the following year, I didn't get the call before Massport, but I did get a hold of on Monday after the race. And he says, I crashed. My bike is wrecked. He said, it's in a garage in New Hampshire, and I need you to fly to Boston on Thursday night. The expansion chambers all got smashed, and I need you to put. I've never worked on this damn thing. I don't know shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked all night putting it back together because we got to leave and go to Montreal. We're going to race on the Jacques Villeneuve circuit in the island of the St. Lawrence Seaway, which is still a NASCAR track today.
Okay.
And he wanted the needles changed in electron carbs. I did that. And I'm responsible for this thing not blowing up.
Right.
So we win that event.
Okay.
And then of course he paid me a couple weeks later. We went to Loudon or Laconia racetrack.
Okay. Yep.
And then Dale retired. He went go into the Busch Series. He wanted to race NASCAR.
Cars, sure.
So he got the Busch Series first, bought himself an airplane. And then in '83, he was the announcer on Motor World for the Daytona 200 motorcycle race with Spain.
Okay.
Again in '84. And in the meantime, he's racing for Busch with his buddy and their 2 girlfriends. He crashed the plane and got killed.
Oh, wow.
So that's what happened to Dale Singleton.
Okay.
I really enjoyed that part of my life doing that.
Sure. And I would assume from kind of what you're saying is that opened up some doors for you, though.
It did.
Put you on the map.
So This is Dale Singleton's bike. Can you see that?
I can. Yep.
That's Dale Singleton. That was in Loudon, New Hampshire.
Okay.
In like, I don't know, August of 82.
So is that an ad or is that an article that you're holding up there?
Well, I made a catalog in
Got it.
1987.
Okay.
And I briefly put that there.
Nice. Okay. That's cool.
I dug through the closet the other day and I thought, maybe this will be good to take. So I brought it.
Absolutely. I'm glad you did. Well, it all started for you there. It's kind of like happenstance. So many of these stories happen that way, right? Where it's like you just things happen and you're all of a sudden in a role and it's almost like you fake it till you make it, like you're a guy working on Hondas at a local dealership and all of a sudden you get kind of catapulted into this bigger role, right?
So I was the local guy doing the tune-ups on your 750 Honda, putting carburetors and cams and maybe working on your motocross bike with an expansion chamber. And, I was the performance guy in my area.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I continued racing motorcycles throughout my 20s. The three-wheelers came out and a couple guys started having me do some engine work for the three-wheelers. And then they were on a 200 four-stroke pro class. And he says, I signed you up in the amateur class. You can ride my bike. So I was already faster than he was because these guys don't know how to use the brakes.
Okay.
What helped me a lot to go faster was the road racing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Road racing teaches you where your lines are
mm-hmm.
and where your braking points are. And that way you can run wide open for a lot longer and then hit the brakes.
Of course.
But you got to be on the right line.
Yes. Yeah, of course. So you had that line choice from the road racing thing. That makes so much sense. And, you kind of mentioned it there. So obviously we all know, I mean, your biggest claim to fame or one of them is those air-cooled four strokes, right? The 200 and 250X, the 300EX, eventually the 400. So that expertise in that kind of came from the very beginning when those three-wheelers came out back in the 80s.
Well, I started working at one of the nearby Honda shops in 1983.
Okay.
I was still racing motorcycles and a lot of local people were racing three-wheelers. So that's where that started. And being that I'm used to working on street bikes, four-cylinder, you've got parts everywhere.
Yeah.
And now you're working on a little air-cooled 200X, which was so fun to work on a small little deal.
Sure.
And so I built a 84 200X for myself, and I built a 350X with two carburetors.
Okay.
And I really never knew I had any pictures of it, but I found some.
Okay.
So I never knew what happened to it, but there's your dual carb 350X.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I can. Yes, I can.
So I went, one of my customers named Lance Gellner, which was one of the first big waves that I went on locally. They traveled to all the Grand National races.
Sure.
They were going to go to Boyd, Texas, and then they were going to go to California to Porterville.
Okay.
So they took my bike. I flew, and in the open pro class where I was going to run my three-wheeler, I led the race on the opening lap, and I was killing these guys. And 3/4 way around the track, while I had the lead, you go into a left-hand sweeper, and I high-sided, and I have a picture. This is the picture just before my crash.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And I wadded up about 30 yards later.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh my goodness.
I had it made. I was going to win. I was faster than them guys.
Yeah.
Then we go to Porterville, California, and it's like 85 mile an hour, half-mile car track with bank corners and going like 85 mile an hour around a bank corner.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sucked.
Oh yeah, that's hairy.
I won, but there wasn't many guys.
Okay. So at what point? So at that time, you're still racing. Was the racing a priority, or was the tuning a priority, or was it kind of a perfect balance of the two?
Well, I was paid to be general manager, and then to make extra money, I got paid 50-50 commission for labor that I did in the evening.
Okay.
But the labor changed to racing. Like I got paid 50% for all the labor, porting ahead, motor work. all the parts got sent, all the money for the profit of the parts went to the shop. So the shop had big interest in what I was doing.
Of course.
Because, everybody got paid. It basically paid my way to go to the races and come out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And it was great. All the customers could order their Honda parts from our shop, and gaskets and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a big cohesive kind of relationship. Sure. So that makes perfect sense. So then, as I guess my next questions here, because I was thinking, okay, so you're racing these four stroke machines. I was trying to figure out how you cut your teeth with these things. It all started with the motorcycle motors that you were wrenching on at the local dealership, all those things. So then, so then from the very beginning, that made you a four-stroke kind of guy, a four-stroke expert, because today, obviously everything is four strokes. With breaking this down for the younger listener, I mean, back then, 4 decades ago, that was the minority. The four-stroke, at least in the ATV racing world, or three-wheelers and everything, it was somewhat of a minority. But at that time, it seemed like you still preferred them.
Well, we had classes of two-stroke, we had classes of four-stroke. Mm-hmm. Of course, I was trying to be creative. I made the dual spark plug head for the 200X with big valves, which was kind of a big ad that kind of put me on the map of people sent me work from all over the country for that.
Of course.
For that head.
Yeah.
And so then I built myself a 200X. I started racing at Pine Lake with everybody, and the first race was 1984. I went there with my 200X.
Okay.
And I went there in 85 when the factories came. 1985 was the year that Team Honda came. A lot of us could ride three-wheelers good.
Okay.
Not just one or two of us, a lot of us. We could slide really good. And when Honda came, Stevie Wright and a couple of those riders would go down the straightaway at Pine Lake wide open. While it was wide open, they'd pitch that thing sideways.
Okay.
How the hell are they doing that? Because it was incredible to watch it done. They could blow by somebody on the outside as soon as someone chopped the throttle, and they'd go flying by. So when I came there in 1986, I had my heart set, and I'm going to figure out how they did that. And your brain won't let you do it.
Okay.
It's kind of like when you're going to hit a double jump. You don't hit that jump wide open without chopping the throttle and then powering back on. Mm-hmm. Your brain won't let you do it.
Of course. Well, wide open on one of those long straightaways, pitching it into the corner. So, I mean, yes.
I took and I tried like hell. I couldn't do it, but then I got pissed and I finally figured out how to do it.
Okay.
So that maneuver that I did in 1986. Okay. Allowed me to win for like 12 years straight at Pine Lake.
Oh my God.
I would be like, you're the only person doing a double jump at a motocross track and you're kicking everybody's butt because you're doing it. Mm-hmm. You think that they would be trying to learn how to do that so they can beat Cody. Cody's been kicking our ass.
Right.
They never did.
That's
and
amazing.
Of course, the class was 200 class for 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then they put everything together, 250Rs, 350Xs. Sure. And it didn't matter. If I'd be in 4th place on the beginning of the second lap, they'd all chop the throttle and I'd go flying by.
Wow. That's amazing.
Pretty wild that just that one maneuver. It wasn't that I was magic. The little 200X, you could dominate that bike on the infield. You could fly.
Sure. Yep. It was nimble.
Straight away hurt it, but
yep.
When they chopped the throttle, they're history.
Yeah, that is amazing. We all know, like, as a younger person, I'm 30, right? So, I just remember TC as the engine builder guy, not necessarily the racer guy, but I knew that this was part of the story. So I was so excited to hear kind of this chapter of it, before we get into the more engine building stuff. So, as I studied up for this interview, I thought about the 4-wheeler stuff and kind of that transition and Honda coming in and all that stuff. And one of the things I learned was that you were involved in the first ever 4-stroke win at an open event, right? And that would have been on a 4-wheeler.
Tim Weaver was racing 2-stroke here. And good friend of mine. He was very good. He raced 250 Pro Class.
Okay.
And we decided to put our money together and build a 4-stroke in 1988. Brand new bike, 350X. I think it was 475 cc's.
Okay.
The thing was a torque monster.
I'm sure.
And so we went to Pine Lake, and Gary Denton, the factories were still there. Gary Denton, there was 3 Suzuki riders, Gary, Putnam, and Jeff Watts.
Okay.
Along with Don Turk on a factory Yamaha. Gary had the fastest bike, 79 mile per hour on his 500 Suzuki and a 250R frame.
Okay.
And we were hitting like 74. And Tim would say, it doesn't matter. He says, I'm 2 seconds faster a lap than he is.
Okay.
Because the thing was like, brr.
Yeah.
It just, and, you know, and I have 2 dynamometers. I haven't used them in 30 years.
Okay.
Never used a dyno on that bike either. Because it was
Seat of the pants.
It was all you could ride.
Okay. Yeah.
And so yeah, that was the first 4-stroke to ever win an open pro event was Tim.
What did you say that engine was, Tom?
A 350X. It was, you know,
okay,
even close to 500 cc's.
Okay.
And I built a couple, you know, other motors in that range. I built one for Mac Moore. I built one for some of his friends. Got bought and sold. And of course, today, I mean, you know what horsepower and torque 450 Hondas make. You know, 35, 36 foot-pounds of torque somewhere. And I used to do a lot of work for Dave from East Coast ATV.
Yep.
And of course, he dynoed a 525 cc 350X that I built for somebody.
Okay.
A kid named Homaker owned it and took it to Dave. Dave calls me up. He says, I got to tell you something. He says, I dynoed this bike. He said, it made 52 horsepower. He said, but what was unusable? It made 65 foot-pounds of torque.
Oh my gosh.
I have no proof of that, but that's what Dave said. It made 65 foot-pounds of torque.
How could anybody ride that thing?
So, you know, did Tim Weaver's bike make 65 foot-pounds of torque? It could have, because it was nasty.
Hey, it made a lot. No matter what the number is, it made a lot.
You know, it probably made in the high 50s.
Yeah.
With 60 pounds of torque.
Jeez, that is unreal. I can't even imagine riding something like that.
So there you go.
That's crazy. Well, as the years clicked by, Tom, so TC Racing Engines becomes more and more prominent. Obviously, it becomes more of a prominent name in ATV racing as you go here. And at the top of the show here, I mentioned all the legendary names as we kind of become more modern, right? As you come to the more modern years that you worked with. And so, you know, one of the names that it started with, it seemed like, at least in the ATV motocross kind of realm or the GNC era, was the Spader family, right? And the eventual, you know, we know him as the 2000 GNC Pro Champion.
Travis was the first spectacular rider that I got to work for. His dad, Ed Spader, we had a blast.
Okay.
Ed worked his butt off for that kid. He'd travel from New Jersey to my shop on a Friday night. We'd work all weekend. He'd go back home on Sunday.
Okay.
Of course, Travis was 12 years old.
Okay.
Of course, Travis won the 200cc championship and then went on to win many others. And yeah, Travis was really, really fun to work with. That would be my first major rider.
Okay.
And it was a great, you know, I worked for Travis for like 12 years.
Okay. That's a long time.
So, Travis wanted to go to college, so Ed was bringing his money closer to home and not spending so much money. And Izzy Burgard from Burgard Cycle kind of sponsored Travis for a couple years. And then I think that was 96 and 97. And then I think that was kind of the end of me and Travis.
Got it. Okay. So I went down that list right at the top of the show. So Travis Spader, you just touched on there, Ben Jackson, Joe Bird, John Natale, Dustin Wimmer, Jeremy Schell, you mentioned, Pat Brown, Thomas Brown. I'd love to hear like what you remember from working with those guys, any stories you have or whatever. So you touched on Spader a little bit. What about Ben Jackson? Tell me a little bit about him, working with him.
Benny was a good kid. His dad was Sam Jackson, and Benny was really good. And this all evolved in like 1999, 2000, 2001.
Okay.
And Benny got to be in the pro class, and he won Mount Morris one year.
Okay.
99 or 2000, he won.
Okay. So he was successful too.
Yes. Jeremy Shaw was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he's one of the guys when I think of TC, that he's very much linked with TC. I don't know why.
The engine builders that I battled with obviously were Curtis. Curtis Sparks was my rival. I always thought Curtis was better than me. So that just made me work harder. And we had a conversation when they had the Legends in 2000, and Curtis would come to me and we talked for a couple hours, and he says, Tom, you made me work my ass off. I says, no, Curtis, you made me work my ass off.
Right.
You were the best rider, which he was. Curtis was great.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think that's the ultimate respect, right?
So, today we have other great engine builders. We have Dan Lamy from DASA. Mm-hmm. We have D Manchak down in Texas at Rage. We got Mark Baldwin in Ohio. Mm-hmm. And it really wouldn't be until the 2005 or later years before those guys would become, in the pro class with some significance. Mm-hmm. They're going to replace us. They're going to Curtis. I'm 70.
but it's one of those things, Tom. I tell people all the time, we never feel as old as we actually are. We're always a kid at heart.
No.
We're always a kid at heart. Well, TC's not going anywhere. And so what about Joe Bird? What do you remember about working with him?
Well, Joe Bird was Doug Gust's friend.
Yes, he was.
And Joe Bird was trying to basically pick up any additional assistance that he could, get off of Doug, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, Joe's okay.
Okay. What about Dustin Wimmer?
Dustin's a good kid. Dustin was a good kid. He was a lot of fun to work for. He raced out of East Coast ATV.
So would you have worked on for Dustin? Would it been on the 450s, or was it always on the smaller stuff with him?
I worked on Dustin's 450 Honda.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. Honda. And what about John Natale? That would have been a little bit earlier era, right? Working with him.
Well, I did work for John Natale through Dave from East Coast sponsored John Natale. Mm-hmm. So I supplied him with porting and pipes. We'll
get into the pipes a little bit as we go here too, because we got a lot of questions about some of those iconic Super Trap pipes, Tom. But okay, Pat Brown.
Pat was I think Pat was from New Jersey. I think his dad was a sheriff, and Pat might be a sheriff now.
He is. Yep, he is.
Yeah, Pat was a good kid. He rode out of East Coast, out of Lost Creek Cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And one of those guys that we've had all of these guys on the show, right? But Pat's one of those guys that stands out as such a really nice kid, and what a really nice guy. We come across so many great people in this sport. I feel like obviously you have a laundry list of great people that you've worked with over the years. So what, Thomas Brown, we're getting a little later era now. What about Thomas Brown?
I think Kevin Muma put that together for me and him.
Okay.
Thomas Brown was from Texas.
Yep.
Really good young rider. And I think Kevin put him on a Yamaha that I built. So everything was basically motivated by Kevin. Mm-hmm. I didn't know Thomas Brown.
Got it.
But we did become friends because I probably did his work for 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Got it.
Yep.
Got it. So you did an interview. So where I got that from? So you did an interview with ATV Scene back at the 50th at Astabula, and I was watching it, kind of getting ready for this interview, and you recounted a very similar list when you were asked about people that you'd worked with. So you recited Spader, the Jackson Boy, Bird, Natalie, Wimmer, Pat Brown, Thomas Brown, and then you paused, and then you said my name. And you said the Jansen Boy, and Tom, my name probably doesn't belong, amongst those other legendary names in the sport there. Right. But what a special thing that was for me, a special moment, to have my name be notable enough for you to mention. You have no idea. It brought a true tear to my eye. I'm not kidding when I say that I was notable enough to come to mind in that moment. So man, that was amazing. But that's where that list came from.
Well, that year that I did work for you,
yeah,
you guys were running the WPSA races.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 2007.
I was doing a 4-stroke in the two. You guys running 300 or 250s?
300.
300.
Yep.
So I was doing work for Wyatt Gann.
Okay.
That won the TT.
TT. Yeah.
I did work for Cole, the Medlin kid.
Cole Medlin.
He won the AMA. You won the WPSA.
Yep.
And the other kid ran the flat track, and I did all three of them.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah, you had the clean sweep there. And actually, I'm going to post some pictures, like you were showing me some stuff, some ads and whatever that you have. Upstairs, I have a box of about 100 ATV racing extras with your ad in it, with me in that ad. And that was so special. So dad bought a case of them, right? But go ahead and say what you were going to say there.
In 1995, I built all top 10 4-strokes in the 250 class. 4-stroke, 250 Pro-Am, all top 10.
Okay.
Which is kind of hard to do and keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
It really is. And of course, and that worked out good because I told them what they could do, and it was always based on money or the kids' expertise.
Mm-hmm.
The kids' expertise or their suspension. It was never I didn't want anything to be my fault.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Pretty hard to keep 10 bikes with no brake, with no DNFs.
Well, and keep everybody happy, like you said, because, so I was so proud to have that TC sticker on the side of my 300EX motor. Like you said, I won that title in 2007, but that year, so Jeffrey Rastrelli and I battled so hard, and we still chat about it to this day from time to time. And the cool part is we both ran your stuff. So basically, like in my mind, it was same machine from top to bottom. We had the same suspension. We had the same shocks. We had the same everything. And it was like, okay, let the best rider win kind of thing. And like I said, I was so damn proud to be a TC rider. You were so good to me. Those are some of the best memories that my family and I have. I have you to thank in part for that. But what I was going to say is, I think, between our two families, we always got along with Jeffrey and the Rastrellis. We, that was always such a great deal. But it was always like, man, I sure hope they don't have like a little bit extra that we don't have, so like you said, it was a balancing act, I'm sure, like to keep everybody happy, because there's always that doubt, like, does he have a little bit more than me kind of thing.
Well, you always try to find more. You always do.
Yeah. And I think so that year too, Neil McGrath had your stuff. I mean, there was multiple guys in there that were all TC. I mean, you had to have a TC motor. Like that's what you had to have. So that's funny. And there was a lot of years there. I remember the McGrath kids. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of years, like I said, where, I mean, to be competitive on one of those machines, you had to have a TC Racing Engines motor. So that's fun memories to think back on. We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. We used to speak of a CST takeover, but now 2022 is the year of CST supremacy. CST's Pulse MXR tires are the choice of Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Nick Janusa, meaning CST tire riders are in contention for Pro Class wins and a possible podium sweep every time they hit the racetrack. CST tires are also the official tire choice of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, but you already knew that. I, your host Cody Jansen, helped pioneer the CST takeover with Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears on my way to back-to-back national championships and a Pro Sport podium to cap off the 2021 season. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offer the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Did I mention they offer contingency payouts as well? Visit shop.CST Tires to join the CST takeover today or prepare to be beat by someone who did. Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Janusa, myself, and so many more believe and trust in CST Tires. Do you? You already know we're Team Blue Crew now more than ever here at the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. And whether it's 8-time and reigning ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, who with his next championship will become the winningest champion in ATV motocross history, or 7-time and current XC1 Pro ATV GNCC National Champion Walker Fowler, who is now tied for second all-time in titles won, it's clear the podium-proven Yamaha YFZ450R is the winning choice of sport ATVs. This continued and unprecedented success for the Yamaha YFZ450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the undisputable fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has resulted in an ever-growing Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Best yet, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program is back and stronger than ever here in 2022, meaning Yamaha riders will once again cash in on payouts and prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com, follow them at Yamaha Outdoors on social media, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. SSI Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and, oh yeah, 6-time world champion top fuel drag racer Clay Milligan. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their wide range of championship-winning chains. From the street to the track and everywhere in between, DID chains are designed to give you the optimal riding experience with great performance and increased chain life. Consistent to the core, pick up your box of reliability today. DID, what drives you?
We are proud to be partnered with Namura Technologies. Since 2001, Namura has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Namura's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, allows for tighter tolerances, and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Namura's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, industry-leading top-end repair kits, and recently added connecting rods, visit your local dealer or online at www.namura.com. Namura Technologies, your one-stop shop engine component supplier. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals and cylinders, shock and suspension parts, winches, clutch kits, valves, carb kits, bearing kits, and drive chain parts, Bronco is your hard part source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world, visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com.
So one of the names that we haven't really mentioned yet is most likely the most notable of them all, Doug Gust.
Doug Gust.
This is the moment and topic that so many of our listeners want to hear and have been waiting for. But that DRZ, Tom, isn't necessarily where it started for you and Doug, right?
Well, let's begin on how I got hooked up with Doug Gust.
Please, yeah.
Doug Gust had been riding for Nax, Darren Nacarado.
Mm-hmm.
Darren Nacarado had bone cancer. So, and of course, Doug Gust rode for Nax for 3-4 years. And of course, Darren died in 1998.
Okay.
So Doug was left without a sponsor or engine guy or whatever. So Wayne Hinson calls me up at the shop one day. And of course, one of my previous racing friends was John Lawson, which John took his kid racing, but he had just quit. So Wayne's talking to me on the phone that, hey, why don't you put together a program for Doug Gust? And I said, I don't have the means to do that. Now Travis Spader's engines belonged to me. So I had no bike. And so Hinson's saying that I have a complete chassis, I have a complete frame. And he says, you've got the motors. And I said, well, I don't have no way to haul them. So John Lawson says, well, we'll use my trailer, and it'll be a great deal to work for Doug Gust.
Okay.
We both agreed that it would be fun. So, and then Hinson says, call Mark Lager and see if he'll build another bike. The TT bike belonged to Nax.
Okay.
Nax still had the TT bike that Doug raced. So we had the TT bike. We needed another practice bike for motocross. So Mark Lager and Doug Gust talked. He would build another frame, and Doug could get to keep it if he won the championship. So all the rest of the stuff, axles, shocks, bearing carriers, brakes, shock linkage, and all, and I had to buy all that stuff.
Okay.
A lot of the stuff was given to us, like the shocks and maybe an axle.
Mm-hmm.
We got sponsored by a lot of stuff, tires and wheels. We got
of course. Yep.
And so I had no claim to fame of a two-stroke guy. I mean, yeah, we're just like Kurtz, we're four-stroke guys.
Mm-hmm.
We can apply our thought process to two strokes and make them at least good. And over time, we can make them a lot better.
Sure. Yep.
So I had done some two strokes already. They ran good. So I made sure these bikes ran good.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had the points lead right away with Doug Gust.
Okay.
And I paid Doug's entry fee and maybe his hotel bill. And that was it. And of course we won. And we went TTing. And Doug was like a top 5 flat tracker and top 2 motocrosser.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so you had other guys that were maybe top 2, like Shane Hitt, maybe Tim Farr were top 2 in flat track. And, Shane and Tim in the beginning were like top 10 motocrossers.
Yep.
They needed to pick that up. And of course, Timmy worked hard to pick that up and try to be in the top 5 in motocross. Mm-hmm. Of course, that made him competitive.
Yeah.
But we went to Orville.
Orville.
John Pellin and George Davis put together a big race.
Yep.
And Jeremy Schell led the race.
Okay.
And then had some type of linkage or something why he was leading.
Okay.
And Tim Farr was in second, or Tim Farr took over. We were like third, and then Tim made a mistake in the corner and went off the track into the mud, and we won.
Okay.
That was like a $5,000 or $8,000 purse.
Oh wow.
So we won. The TT on the flat track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Otherwise we were like top 5 most of the time.
Right, and that wasn't Doug's claim to fame. We asked him on the show here. He's like, I just didn't really like those TTs that much. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. What, Tom, was that the DRZ wasn't where it started for you? That the relationship started actually with you building him a 2-stroke, and so that was 99. So he won that title in 99.
Well, the unique thing that I did in 1999 is I maintained the appearance of the bikes in memory of Darren Nacarado.
Oh yeah,
completely. It wasn't Team TC Doug Gust. It was Nax Racing.
Sure.
I did that. Who else would do that? You're not gonna have anybody else not prioritize their shop and put a competitor's name on that bike.
Of course. Yeah, of course. I didn't know that part of the story.
Yep, that's true. So then Jim Nacarado was really thankful, and so he became wanting to be more part of our program, which we let him do that in 2000.
Yep.
But he actually was trying to take over the program as well. instead of leaving it be me and John and Doug.
Okay. So then at what point, that's another story. So then at what point did you decide to make the 4-stroke move? Because that was 2001, right?
You had Doug Henry already do it on a motorcycle.
Yes.
We had Joe Bird and Tim Farr, and I think Corey Ellis already try it. 1999. Tim Farr ran the Yamaha, I believe at Redbud against us, where he thought that maybe that might make a difference, but they gave up on it.
Okay.
So I thought an electric start bike would be the ticket. So that's why I went with the Suzuki, because it was electric start. So I built the DRZ, and of course I bought a brand new motorcycle to take the motor out, and then Mike Walsh built the chassis. I had to pay for that, but he built it right away. He built it like in a week.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Put the motor down, and then of course the motor was dry sump like a 400EX.
Yes.
It had an oil tank, and so we go to Etchakani, the first race of 2001. We bring both bikes.
Okay.
Doug practiced on the 2-stroke, and then he practiced on the 4-stroke and never got off of it.
You liked it that much?
We should race this thing, because if we could have a problem. We win the first moto, hands down. We won the first moto, and then the second moto, while we were winning, the return line to the oil tank got hot and it burst and started spraying oil on the motor. So we shut it down, and that was that.
Yeah.
So we went to London, Kentucky, and won. The first time that a 4-stroke won the 250 Pro class.
Okay.
Was at London.
Okay.
So then,
amazing.
So then Hinson puts me in charge. Hinson makes the connection to have me talk to Pat Alexander, race team manager for Suzuki, to keep getting parts.
Okay.
So I'd call Pat to get gaskets and pistons. He sent me a complete motor, and the electric start stuff, Doug didn't want it anymore. I can start that bike. So we took all the electric start. We tried to make the bike lighter.
Sure.
We changed over to kickstart only.
Okay.
And then we did have, the sport was still Grand National. We had motocross and we had TT.
Yep.
We changed it over to TT. Now the bike weighs like 330 pounds.
Okay.
You better hang on to your life. That bike was fast.
Yeah.
We go down to a racetrack in Georgia that was run by Donnie Banks.
Okay.
And of course, we won. We won motocross with it, and we won TT with it.
Okay.
Shane Hitt chased us, and we were constantly 50 feet to 100 feet ahead of him the whole race.
Okay.
He could gain maybe a bike length at the end of the straightaway by holding it wide open a little bit longer, but it didn't make any difference. The bike was so fast coming out of the corners that we stayed out front, 50 to 75 feet.
Okay.
Whole race. And we would have won the championship more times with that bike. But when we go to our motocross events, which were our strong events, which we're going there to win.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Doug got prepared to win, and you reach in that bucket and you pull out your clothespin number 18, and it's raining out. And of course, you go through the first corner in 18th place. You can't pass. By the end of the moto, you're 7th. You win the second moto, and you come home with a 3rd, 4th, or 5th in an event that you should have won.
Yeah.
And that happened 2 or 3 times. So we end up with like a number 2 for the year. Number 1.
Yeah. Well, and I've had that happen so many times. So many listeners have had to have that happen so many times, right? Where you pull that big number pin. Nowadays, if they qualified, back then,
we would have dominated.
Yeah. Geez.
That would have dominated. We would have never had. We would have had top 1, 2 finish in all the motocrosses.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Doug was an animal. Like I did work for Harold Goodman too.
Okay.
1994, I did Harold's 4-stroke work and his 2-stroke work.
Okay.
Everything was done in the mail. Harold won every heat race and every main event on his 2-stroke. In 4-stroke, he finished second in Pro-Am 4-stroke. Tom Miller beat him.
Okay.
Tom Miller,
Yep.
which I did Tom's work.
Okay. Oh, that's crazy.
Later on, Tom Miller would advertise that, he was trying to do some more work of the 1995 or whatever, 1994 4-stroke champion. He didn't say he built the motor. He just said it's the home.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So what I was going to say is I didn't know that there was any Suzuki affiliation or help coming from Suzuki during that DRZ era, but there was a little affiliation.
We got parts.
Okay.
When we went to that racetrack in Georgia when we won.
Yes.
We had a Japanese guy came looking for us that stayed with us because apparently the LTZ was already in production. So they wanted to come see this bike.
Okay.
And so that would have been, April, May of 2001.
Got it. Okay.
And of course, the LTZ came out in like November of 2002.
Yes.
As of 2003.
Yes. So the other thing that I didn't know necessarily was the reason you chose the DRZ was because it was electric start.
Right.
Okay. And so when you've switched over to it being kickstart, I mean, being such a big motor, that was never a problem. He could start it. No problem. Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Doug wanted it off. I can start that bike. It was never a problem.
Well, like you said, he's an animal. So take me through that build process at the beginning. Like I know some other guys were dabbling in it. Like you said, Doug Henry had done it on the dirt bike side, but as you're creating that thing, and I know that Doug, when you got to that first race, he had a choice, but as you were building that thing, was there ever any thoughts that maybe this was a mistake or it wouldn't work or anything like that? Because it was a radical move. Like nobody had perfected this 4-stroke thing until you and Doug did.
Well, we had a big fight with Roger Ansel at AMA, trying to allow the 4-stroke to be used.
Sure.
I tried to tell him, you're doing it with motorcycles. Why don't you let us do it? And he said, what size should it be? I said, well, let it be the same size that you I think originally the motorcycles could be 500 cc's, and then they switched it back to 450.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he said, if we allow this, we're going to have to make the 350 class, we're going to have to make it bigger. I said, why do you got to change another class? Because we want to run the pro class. No, we're going to have to make the 350 4-stroke class. We're going to have to make it 400. So you guys will be allowed to be 80 over 400. So that was the choice, to make it 80 over. But at the same time, about a month later, they come out with that, what was it, Can-Am 440?
Exactly. Yep.
So it all evolved together. So the 4-stroke class went from 250, which I was again making it. I said, make it 251 open. And then of course they made that 400, and now they made it 440.
Right.
So yeah, our motor was 440.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
And it stayed 440. It's never been 450.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's crazy. And that led, I mean, with Doug, and you mentioned this already, but that led to more firsts because, you played a role in another first for the 4-stroke, with Doug becoming, obviously, like you said, the first to win a 250 pro event on a 4-stroke. And he basically, quote unquote, broke that record on both the TT and the moto side, like you said, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, the bike, the bike really ripped. I mean, was it? Did I ever dyno that bike? No, never did. Never did. Even that exhaust pipe that you and your dad bought for me one time, I built that by the seat of my pants. I did not, and of course, you guys dynoed it. It was like that and the Dasher were your best pipes.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But that's how I always thought of you, Tom, is you didn't need a dyno. Like you did it all by the seat of your pants and you just knew.
Well, I ran a dyno a lot for many years. A dyno just is a way of testing to find out where the power is of a pipe or whatever. And This is a true story
Okay.
of why I quit relying on the dyno.
Okay.
I was doing a 200 blaster for one of my customers that was going to run Grand National all the way out to California. So I built him this really cool blaster, and the only pipes that came out was a DG. And they live in Pennsylvania, not too far from Dynaport, which is Rich Daly's shop. So Rich Daly was glad to build a pipe for it. You know, they have another bike. They brought it up to the shop and they built a pipe. And Rich and I personally know each other. And I got this motor done. I got both pipes and I dynoed both of them. With the DG pipe on, I could hold it wide open at like 3 grand, 4 grand, 5, 6, 7, 8, and maybe 8,500. It just was linear.
Okay.
And I put the DG pipe on it. I couldn't run it wide open at 3 and 4 grand. You know, about 4,500 it would take off, and it didn't seem to have a broad power delivery. So I didn't like it. So I talked to Rich Daly and I said I think the DG pipe is better because the dyno's better. Do me a favor. Go ride that bike. Okay. So I did. I went and rode the DG. The bike ran good. Just a progressive power band. The more throttle, the harder it pulls. And then I rode with the Dynaport. Friggin' ripped your arms off. It would easily, in 100-foot dash, it would win 2 bike lengths in 100 feet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was it. Everything was going to be by the seat of the pants from there on.
Yeah.
Make that sucker haul ass.
Well, the dyno doesn't tell it all. Like you said, it's a numbers thing, but it doesn't necessarily tell you how it's going to feel.
Well, everybody loves them numbers. They only worry about the number up on the top.
Yeah, you're exactly
They don't worry
right.
about the horsepower on the bottom.
Yeah, you're very right.
I keep telling these guys with 450s, the one that makes 40 horsepower first is the one that's going to win.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And, you know, we've talked to, you know, Joel and some of these guys, and I know he's a littler guy, but he's kind of a perfect example of, he was telling his guys to make the thing slower, you know, that he could ride it faster if the thing wasn't quite as fast. And in the motocross era, it doesn't need to rip your arms off fast necessarily.
You'll have a lot faster exit of the corner if you can control it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. You know, the one other thing I want to talk about with this DRZ hybrid that's so special to me, and you said that maybe the Z400 was already, you know, kind of a thought about thing, but I have to believe that, you know, your hybrid was you know, it played a role in, you know, the years of incredible success that followed for Doug as he became a Suzuki factory rider. I don't know exactly how you understand it, but, you know, when Doug joined the show, he told us that the DRZ definitely opened the door for him with Suzuki. And, you know, like I said, I mean, I got to believe that Z400 had to be at least loosely based off of the hybrid that you built, because it was such a similar machine.
Yeah. The DRZ had already been around for a few years. So they just made it more of an ATV type of motor. You know, didn't have a kickstart at first.
Right. Yeah. Right. But yeah, I think that's a cool thing to think back on that, because you think of, you know, all the success that Suzuki went on to have. I mean, all the success that Doug had on the Z400, and, you know, he wins the title in 2006, you know, when the new quad comes out, when the LTR comes out, and then they grab Jeremiah Jones, and later on they have Chad Wienen, and they both won a bunch of races for Suzuki, and Dustin Wimmer wins back-to-back titles in 2008 and 2009, and Josh Creamer wins a title for Suzuki, as they literally are closing the doors on the Suzuki ATV racing program. I mean, it's got to be cool for you. I mean, that's such an iconic time in ATV racing. And I know that there's a little bit more to the story here that we can get into, but that does have to be somewhat of a special thought to you as you kind of think back on that, to think that you were kind of part of kickstarting that whole Suzuki era of ATV racing. It's an era that ATV racing fans will forever hold on the top of, you know, the pedestal, that Suzuki era.
Well, you know, it was a great time. Hooking up with Doug would be, you know, other than Travis and Jeremy Schell and Ben Jackson, and early on, you know, Tim Weaver and Lance Gellner. Yeah, Doug would be the pinnacle of my racing career. Absolutely. And, you know, it was, you know, I'm the one that bought the Suzuki. I'm the one that paid for the Walsh chassis and all that. And in 2003, Doug brought Yoshimura on board.
Okay.
I wasn't real happy about that, but we brought Yoshimura. So I flew to California. The bike went out there. So the team in 2003 was Yosh. Well, actually, it was all Suzuki and me, but Yosh was included. Obviously, Wayne Hinson was included, and of course, when there's a factory program coming in, a lot of people are jealous. They want to get their hands on that.
Of course.
Me and John Lawson were having knowledge of, we're going to try to be attacked here and all that, and try to be pushed out. So I go hunting. So anyway, that was the team: Pat Alexander, Brant Russell at Yosh, Wayne Hinson, and me.
Okay.
I go to Alaska after we win the championship against Timmy Farr, and I come back home, and Wayne Hinson calls me 1st of October, and says that, well, there's going to be a factory team. Doug's going to be the rider. John Lawson's going to be the driver. And unfortunately, he says, you're kind of a conflict of interest with Yosh, so you're not going to be part of the team. And I was like, well, I knew that could be a problem, but I hoped it would all work out. So that was what I was told. So that was a story that I explained during October, November, and December. So let's go back to the people that were involved: Pat Alexander, Brant, Wayne, and myself. And of course, Wayne calls me and tells me the story of what the problem is. So John Lawson goes to California to go pick up the new trailer and truck with Pat Alexander between Christmas and New Year's. And Pat Alexander wanted to know why I wanted to quit.
What?
Pat Alexander wanted to know why I quit. John Lawson says, Tom didn't quit. He was not allowed to be part of the team.
So there's some funny business going on.
You understand what I just said?
Yes, I do.
So I call Wayne up. I'm a little bit upset here.
Of course.
And Wayne says, you told me you wanted to quit. And I said, Wayne, why are you fibbing about this? And I said, bottom line is they created a narrative. I mean, Brant Russell probably wanted to have it be solely Yosh to get me out of the picture. The real problem was Wayne and I were pals.
Yeah.
Wayne and I were pals.
Yeah.
And he went along with that narrative, a false narrative, which he'll still promote that today.
Okay.
So we're not the best friends that we once were.
Got it.
That was my only opportunity that I started the Suzuki thing, which prospered into a national thing with Doug Gust and Suzuki.
Yeah.
And then these guys removed me.
Yeah. Well, that would be a hot button topic.
So this was, I wasn't sure I was going to tell that topic today, but I thought it would be a perfect time to do it.
Yeah. So I thought, Tom, that there was more to the story, and that's why I said that. I knew that you were part of it at the beginning, and
it was a narrative that apparently these guys wanted to make more money or control or whatever.
Okay.
It never should have happened because they could have kept everybody on board. They could have done whatever. I don't care if Yosh could have controlled the program. I had no desire to be race team manager. I just wanted to be doing my thing and allowing my expertise to be used.
Exactly. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So, and it was so unfortunate because Wayne's been to my house, and obviously everybody he knows, he would have told the story that I quit.
Yeah, that is a shame.
Which that was not true. That was a narrative that was.
Yeah. So
I don't want to pick on Wayne anymore. Wayne and I were friends, and I can still bury the hatchet, but I still got it.
Yeah. No, that is a shame. Like I was sitting here thinking, I mean, I think of you two kind of in the same light, so that it's a shame that it went down that way. But kind of moving on from that, Tom, we don't got to beat that dead horse anymore.
Nope, we're good.
So you've done a ton of work, over the years, a lot of work in the years that followed that kind of Suzuki thing. I think of Cale Downen, my buddy Graham Gardner, who religiously ran your stuff for years and years. I love Graham. So you've obviously done hundreds of people's work since then, but
I built that dual carb 250X for Travis.
Oh yes. Yes.
The dual carb 250X for Travis Spader with a 6-speed transmission.
So that's amazing.
That was built out of a 350X. Everybody tried to do that, but they couldn't figure out how to do it.
Got it. Okay. So we asked some people to send in some questions, and I was going to get to those here shortly. And some of those were about exactly that. So Farrow Brothers wrote in asking about the dual plug 250X motor. And then we had some more questions. Trax Performance wanted to hear more about the 250X days, specifically talking about taking out the reverse gear and making a 6th gear. I didn't know anything about that, but that's amazing. I didn't know anything about that.
You used the whole 350X transmission. It was already 6-speed. The problem was the transmission shafts don't fit, and the shift drum is about 1 inch too long.
Okay.
So I had to machine all that stuff. I had to make special bearings, but I took notes that I could still do it again.
Sure. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So what I was going to ask you, you've built all this stuff, you've done all this stuff over the years. I was going to ask you, do you still find time to do a little engine building between your hunting trips?
Well, I still work for a living. I try to be constructive and prosperous. I'm in the twilight of my career, so I don't work overnight as many times as I used to.
That's fair. That's good. You earned it.
John Lawson was a UPS driver.
Okay.
He retired, and we still had 2.5 years work to do. And so he'd come down a week early, and he'd take the motors out of 2 bikes, and I would rebuild them while I'm working on other stuff. And then I'd give them to him. He'd put them back in. And on Thursday morning, I'd go ride them and make sure that they were perfect. And I don't think we had Friday practice, so we didn't have to show up until Saturday.
Okay.
So I would work all day Friday, and we'd leave about 10 o'clock at night. I'd fall asleep in the car while he drove all night.
So yeah, you were burning the midnight oil.
He was only 57 years old when he died.
Oh wow.
57.
Oh, that's unreal. That's way too young.
I'm 70.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got a lot of more years left in you, Tom. You got a lot of more motors to work on, a lot of more riders to help. So I was going to ask you, so speaking of hunting trips, we haven't got into hunting at all. We got a lot of hunting questions as well as we went here. So I swore there was a story, and maybe this could have came from my dad years ago. I don't remember. But possibly about a Kodiak bear that you snagged. Was it possibly a record? Is me saying that, is there any correctness, or is that just a myth?
No, it's true. When I was young, going to grade school, one of the company presidents in our town went to Kodiak Island, and he brought a bear hide to school in the movie to grade school. I'm like in 5th grade.
Okay.
So that probably planted the seed for me to want to go. But, in the 1970s, it was like $2,000.
Sure.
And
a lot of money.
Then in my 1980, it was $8,000. And then by, 2001, it was like $15,000. And, it just keeps going up and up. And so
of course, yeah.
In 2006, I decided to go. I booked the hunt 2 years, and it was, $18,000. And I already knew that this isn't going to be like shooting a deer where you got 15 deer hanging in your garage wall.
Right.
I only want to get one. I'll go home empty-handed, and I'll just keep hunting. So, 2008, I went to Kodiak. The hunt I went to the Alaska Peninsula the first time, going towards Russia on that.
Sure.
Great hunt. I hunted 18 days, never shot my gun. I saw 42 bear. I did see one big one.
Okay.
And luck just didn't go right that day to be able to chase them.
Okay.
On Kodiak, I booked that hunt. That hunt was going to be like $24,000. which is now, today it's like $38,000.
Jeez.
And yeah, I killed a Boone and Crockett. It's when you get something that's, you get an award when you get one that's pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the award book.
Okay.
Get a bigger one, you run what's called the all-time record book, and it's a permanent book.
Okay.
There might be 125 bear over 100 years that are on there that are made. It's the length of the skull and the width.
Okay.
Not the size of the bear.
Sure.
It's just like horns.
Sure. Yep.
And Boone and Crockett is 28 inches, length and width added together.
Okay.
Does not include the lower jaw, which has maybe this.
Okay.
Take the lower jaw off, it's just the skull. And mine was 28 and a quarter. World's record is 30 and 12/16.
Okay.
But it's 28 to make the all-time book. So yeah, your dad's got a true story there.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. We had to get at least a little hunting talk in, Tom, because I know that's a big part of your life too, just like the ATV racing stuff is.
Well, I grew up with a mom and a dad, which is kind of not normal today. A lot of people were broken homes, and
you're right.
We played baseball, chased girls,
mm-hmm.
and went hunting and fishing all the time.
Yeah.
And we just carried it on. I went hunting in the fall with my
mm-hmm.
friends, and then we eventually started going to Colorado because one of my high school friends moved out there.
Okay.
And then in 1997, we thought, let's go to Alaska. So everything was unguided.
Sure.
It was cheap to go.
Mm-hmm.
The only guided hunt that I did was the brown bear.
Got it.
That was live.
That's amazing. You're living the dream, Tom.
Yeah, I play with, I'm a gun nut. I play with guns a lot.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a performance nut with making as much horsepower out of my 308 or 30-06 or whatever Magnum it might be.
Yep. That's very fitting. Yep, that's very fitting.
Make it go.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
The following message is brought to you by Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has outdone themselves this time, creating the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, now available for purchase in the U.S. and Canada. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, with this exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0 and I am blown away. This thing is next level. What sets this trimmer apart from all the rest? The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. It features a new multi-functioning on-off switch with travel lock for those of us who like to travel. And my favorite, the new trimmer allows you to customize your trim with 4 different guard lengths, an upgrade from its predecessor that only featured 2. If you're listening, you know that good tools are a must, so wait no more to get the best tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using code DIGGINGDEEP20.
Hey everyone, this is Larry Mills, president of DP Brakes North America and proud partner of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. We at DP Brakes are a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology, dominating the ATV world for decades by supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. This year's lineup includes Jeff Rastrelli, Mark Baldwin and Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Janusa, and many more, including Mr. Digging Deep himself, Cody Jansen. Plus all the top 17 GNCC pros such as 7-time champion Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Hunter Hart, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, Adam McGill, and previous champion Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer. Products that ultimately help place them on top of the podium week after week. DP brakes are available through www.dp-brakes.com, or you can purchase them through your local Parts Unlimited stocking dealer, or you can even message us, myself, Larry Mills, or DP Brakes on Instagram or Facebook. And if you have any questions about product or sponsorship support, please ask us. We are waiting for you. Join the best ATV riders in the world equipped with DP Brakes, and have a great year, everyone.
Nearing 2 decades into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back and better than ever, continuing to make major waves in the ATV world. For the 3rd consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for 2-time champ Joel Hetrick. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of industry-leading products available for all makes and models. Head over to factory43atv.com today.
Success in the ATV MX world is similar to what creates financial success as well. The right people, the right advice, and more importantly, hard work and the benefit of an ongoing relationship as situations change and adversity is experienced. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you reach your goals? Haymower Financial Group can create a personalized, goal-based plan to help your family prepare for whatever life brings. Call me, Scott Haymower, at Haymower Financial Group, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, at 920-338-8150. That's 920-338-8150. Office is located in beautiful De Pere, Wisconsin, with registrations and clients nationwide.
Just like the sport of ATV motocross as a whole, our Digging Deep community is brought together by the love for racing that we all share. Our sport is compiled of many great people, and leading that charge is the Launderville family at Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. This racing-owned family business is a steel and concrete supplier serving the entire United States. Launderville Steel is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products, headlined by the 4130 chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for ATVs and UTVs, off-road truck racing, late model dirt and pro tractor pulling series, drag racing, and more. Launderville Steel loves their racing just as much as we do, but don't forget about their concrete division as well. With over 25 years of experience, the concrete division can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. Their central Midwest location enables LSE to easily serve customers across the United States. For a quote, additional info, answers to more of your questions, or to talk a little racing, head over to laundervillesteel.com or give them a call today. We are proud to be partnered with yet another racer-owned company. Thank you, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. Here at Digging Deep, we have an obvious passion for ATVs and pridefully enjoy sharing the sport's history. Since 2019, when the podcast was born, we've been working to partner with individuals who share our passion, but one man and his vision had been missing from our partnership group. Until now. When it comes to the sport's history, the hallowed grounds of Binky's Forever ATC Museum has it all. Binky Tapscott's mind-blowing collection of 3- and 4-wheelers has preserved history by spanning all makes and models, from Honda 3-wheelers in chronological order to unique builds that shaped ATV racing as we know it, like Doug Gust's iconic DRZ-powered hybrid thumper and everything in between. There's no denying Binky's passion, a passion that we certainly relate to here at Digging Deep. Binky's goal is to share his amazing collection with fellow enthusiasts by making his prized possessions accessible to the public via scheduled visits. Follow Forever ATC Museum on Facebook and watch foreveratc.com for further updates on possibly getting a chance to see Binky's Forever ATC Museum for yourself. We are proud to welcome Binky's Forever ATC Museum to the Digging Deep family. Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. Well, I referenced some of the array of questions that we got from our listeners. I'm just going to sprinkle in a couple of them here. There's a lot that we already got to as the story unfolded. But Kevin Taylor wrote to us for some funny conversation. Ask TC about Electro Clean being sprayed where it doesn't need to be sprayed.
Well, over the years, we'd have all different kinds of contact cleaner, brake clean, and
yeah,
you see someone's crack of their ass, and we just spray it down the crack of their ass. Some of it really burns.
Oh my gosh!
The electric clean really burns. You'll be looking for the garden hose.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I didn't know that's where that was going. That's funny stuff.
Yeah, painful.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Sean Ridgway asked us. He said, "Ask Tom about how he used to back his 86 250X into turn 1 at Pine Lake before the turn even started." That's the move that you talked about.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's amazing.
I go when I go to Pine Lake, I go watch the 3-wheeler, Sean Ridgway, and I tell him, I said, "You guys are a bunch of pussies." Because I show him pictures of how it's done.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
You guys run like a bunch of pussies.
I love that. Adam Campbell, he asked you to estimate how many 250X and 350X motors you've worked on in your life.
A lot.
I was going to say, how can you even guess?
I used to do two 200X heads a day.
Okay. Jeez.
Back to 200X. I do 2 a day. And of course I made them, you're only talking two ports, and you can get to both ports.
Yeah.
And I made them look like a work of art, and I would do 2 a day.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing.
250Xs, a lot more work. 350Xs were a serious amount of work for a 350X.
Okay.
The ports are like this little things.
Yeah, right. Like your pinky finger.
But still, I've done a lot of 450 stuff. A lot of 450 combos.
Yeah. I can't imagine you could even come up with a number, Tom. It's way too big.
Everybody's doing the CNC porting today, which some of them are very nicely done. But they all cut the guide off.
Okay.
They all remove the guide, and which you can obtain pretty good peak flow by doing that. It's hard to maintain peak flow and leave the guide. You're going to have to work pretty hard to streamline that guide. But if you leave the guide in it, it'll have more flow at the lower lifts, like 100, 150, 200 thousandths lift. It'll have more flow.
Okay.
It will.
Got it. So do you look at the CNC stuff like it's a little cookie cutter, or how do you view the CNC stuff?
Well, the CNCs are all done with, with a computer program.
Right.
That, they've, obviously they've copied heads that have been ported by previous people, and of course with a 450 you got to be pretty careful. You'll accidentally find where the water jacket is, cut a hole in the head.
Okay.
And then the head's basically ruined.
Got it. Okay.
I've
heard horror stories like that.
You can't see it. You don't know where it is until you cut a hole through it.
Got it. It was one of those things. The reason why I asked is because I've always thought, obviously, like you said, there's tons of awesome videos and a lot of, nice CNC stuff out there. But you just don't get that last personal touch. That's why I thought, to me, I've always kind of thought of it as a little bit of a cookie cutter deal. That's all.
Well, I suppose you can do a CNC ported head and, I don't know what it takes, maybe an hour. If you do it by hand and do a spectacular job, you're going to have 15 hours.
Exactly.
15 hours.
Yeah. It's just a little bit of apples to oranges there, I guess. But yeah, like I said, I had a whole page worth of questions here, and we hammered out most of them as you were telling your story. So let's wrap up with this. I'll give you 2 questions of my own. Maybe you got something for them, maybe you don't. The first one being, what is your best Doug Gust story that you might have not told yet? Do you have one?
Oh, I'm sure there's one, but let me think here.
Okay.
You should have told me that before. I could have thought about it.
Well, let me ask the other question first, and then you can maybe come up with something to think as you go. My other question was your favorite ATV racing memory in totality. Do you have one that stands out there?
Oh boy. It's hard to take 40 years of racing and try to come up with one magic moment in 5 minutes.
I understand. No, I understand.
That's a booby trap. I don't know. Doug Gust, man. I still have, I was going to bring it today too. I still have 2 full champagne bottles of winning the 1999 title.
Okay.
And another winning something else. I'm waiting for me and Doug to drink that champagne.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Wow. That's awesome. I had somebody write in that saw Doug at the Supercross race last night in Tampa. And
I talked to him yesterday. He said he was going to go.
Really? Okay.
I talked to him yesterday. He said that his wife, Tina, bought him a ticket to go to the Supercross.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. Yeah. This person was saying that they were celebrating, this conversation with you. Looking forward to hearing it here on our show by talking to Doug about it yesterday.
Yep, I did.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. Well, Tom, this has been amazing. This has been so much fun. I can't thank you enough for your time. Before we sign off, let's get Marty in here.
All right, Marty, get your ass over here.
Talk a little bit. So
Yeah.
Marty Antenbrook joins us now, and Marty, so at the top, I said, that this couldn't have happened without you. So I can't thank you enough. You played middleman here. You helped make this happen. You facilitated it for me, which I appreciate so much. But you actually, there's some of the story here that, you kind of play a role in, because you're actually still running some of these TC tuned DRZ hybrids to this day. Your son's the rider. Tom's working on the engines. You're doing some of the chassis stuff. So tell me about that a little bit.
So a couple of years ago, a buddy of mine, he was in the racing. His name's Alan Darlington. We were talking, we're friends, and I bought a piece of junk KFX 400. I mean, it was a basket case.
Okay.
And we were able to turn it into something my boy could run on XC racing.
Okay.
So you fast forward a couple of years, my boy's maybe 12 years old, and I go to Alan. I said, man, I want to build my son a flat track quad. I said, I found a grenaded LTZ 400, and I need an engine builder. And Alan goes, well, you got to call Tom. He's like 2 hours away. He lives up in the mountains in PA. He goes, you can hardly find this place. He goes, you got to go see Tom. And he's been doing them forever. I said, okay. So we ended up with the bike behind us. That was, we ran the first year, we ran a Z400 motor. Tom did all the work to it. And for a Z400, it was way more than I would say. Would you think it was more motor than what Doug had even back then?
Yeah, well, ours was just for,
Yeah.
It could have been.
So now he tells me about running the DRZ in a 250R chassis. I said, well, Tom, I said, I'm a welder fabricator by trade. I can make that DRZ motor go in the Z400 chassis.
Sure.
And they were like, well, you might, him and some other people told me, you might have to build some tabs to go into the swing arm to hold the motor further forward. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, I want that swing arm bolt in that motor.
Right.
So yeah. I figured out what I got to do to make that happen with that bike. My buddy Al, he did the swing arm, took a factory Honda swing arm, 05, shortened it up to the measurement for my boy and his weight. And, talking with Tom and Al, we got it perfect. And being the chassis set for my son, I can't ride the thing. I can't hold the front end down on the thing. You get a guy with 200 pounds on it, you can lay it on the front of that hood and it still won't hold the front end down.
Oh,
so this quad here is somewhere 300-pound range.
Wow.
And I don't know as far as horsepower. I mean, like Tom always says, anybody can make 60 horse at 11,000 RPM. But, we went for a really torquey motor and that's what we got. And so that's how I met Tom. And when I seen that online, I said, well, I know you don't have a cell phone, a computer, or nothing to mess with. So I said, let me help this guy out and, get him in touch.
Yeah.
I borrowed my wife's cell phone to come here today.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Well, like I said, I mean, what an awesome thing. What an awesome story. And so tell me, like, is it competitive? It's obviously competitive against today's modern stuff. So tell me about that a little bit.
So, I mean, I don't see any reason. I mean, I think we're making 450 horsepower all day out of that thing. And
yeah, it's just difference in riders, all it is now.
Yeah, I mean, that bike, if you put a pro rider on that bike versus another pro rider on a Honda or Yamaha, they're going to ride with each other.
Really?
All you would have to do, if a pro rider contacted me today and said, I want to ride that thing at Pine Lake, I'd swap the swing arm for him and he can get on it and run with some of the best.
Wow.
And there's horsepower has been the same for what, 20 years?
Yep. I built my nephew, Michael Maselli, an LTR. So I want to build like Doug Gust bike. Okay. So, and of course, the first couple of years it had the fuel injection. So then we put a carburetor on it. And it runs great. If it didn't weigh 430 pounds, it'd be an animal. It still is, but if it weighed 400 or if it weighed 330 pounds, it'd be
unstoppable.
All you could ride.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And I can't imagine the reactions that you guys probably get from people. The thing is gorgeous. We'll post some pictures. I can't imagine the reactions you get because, it kind of speaks to the iconic nature of the DRZ LTR hybrid type thing, that it's stood the test of time.
Yeah.
When we were talking about Lance Gellner.
Yes.
And this is an article where Lance hole shotted Curtis 3 times in a row before he made the one that counted.
Okay.
Because everybody kept tipping over.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, Curtis tipped over. And so it was Lance, Mackmore, and Curtis.
Okay.
So what he didn't tell you about our new build is the titanium exhaust.
Oh, wow.
And the can, the Yosh can and everything is the original stuff that they use.
That's
back
Doug-
when Doug ran.
That's Doug Gust pipe.
Yeah,
Is it
and
really? Wow.
Yeah, that's the Doug Gust pipe, and then that's
We had a couple spares, so I got to keep all the spares when, and then
Wow.
the kicker. Walsh made that kicker that's right there. He
yeah,
gave me that.
I'm trying to think if there's anything funny I want to tell you about Doug, but
Okay.
probably not enough time I can think about it.
Man, that is cool to see. That piece of work behind you is amazing. To see the accents from, the original stuff, the factory stuff is amazing.
Well, so anyway, at the end of 2002, Suzuki gave me a brand new LTZ, just like they were going to, sponsor Doug with one to be sent to Yoshimura.
Of course.
And I kept it, I was just going to ride it. So probably around December of 2000, December of 2002, I get a call from Doug. Doug says, I need that bike. Says, I need to have a practice bike built. And he says, there isn't any more of them. They're sold out. All right, I guess I'll send it to you. And so I sent it to him. Well, he never built that for him. He sent the motor to Yosh. And he gave the bike to Cindy, his girlfriend. You remember Cindy?
I do. I remember her well. Yes.
He gave the bike to Cindy. Now, there's a little bit of a mystery here with the LTZ. And of course, so Yoshimura built it. One of the problems, this is a good history for people that are listening.
Mm-hmm.
The LTZ and the DRZ are the same bike, but the tensioner is different.
Okay.
Interchangeable, but they're different. The LTZ, the range of the tensioner is about 3/4 of an inch of range.
Okay.
The LTZ had about half of that. And they used up half of that with a brand new chain.
Okay.
So it only had about 1/8 of an inch of movement,
Mm-hmm.
which means that the chain's only going to last about 2 months.
Okay.
I saw that right away back in the first engines I did in 2003.
Okay.
I welded a bung on the end of the tensioner of about 1/4 of an inch, maybe more. So that when with a new chain, the tensioner had 100% of the range left. It would work for 2 or 3 years. So we go to Mount Morris. Now, Cindy was racing with other people, not with our team.
Right.
And Doug comes up to me and says, hey, he says, Cindy's bike is making a weird noise. So I already knew what it was.
Of course. Yeah.
So I take the tensioner out and put my tensioner in it, and I saved Yoshimura's ass.
Okay.
That motor would have blown up in another week.
Mm-hmm.
So that now you got to go to the end of the year when John Lawson is out at Yoshimura picking up the new truck and trailer,
Mm-hmm.
and Brent Russell, being the little shithead that he is trying to make me appear worse to John Lawson that motor had got sent back at the end of the year. Doug sent it back to Yost to be freshened up for 2004.
Sure.
And so Brent Russell had this tensioner that I made for their motor on his bench, bad mouthing it that, what's TC, too lazy to put a cam chain in it? Well, I just saved this company a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
And he's bitching at me for something he should have known to do. They would have had DRZ tensioners everywhere.
Yeah.
I welded a bung on it, and he's bad-mouthing me for saving his life.
What a shame. Yeah. What a shame.
Is that a good story?
It is. That's a good story.
Yeah, that's another true story that I was mad that he's bad-mouthing me for saving his company a couple $1,000.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like we said with the whole Suzuki thing, you kind of got cut out of it, and that's a shame. It didn't have to go down that way.
And of course, I would have all kinds of people calling me what I'm using for a cam chain because they can't keep a cam chain in their LTZs.
Of course. Yes.
Including Tom Miller, he would call me up. I said, I'm just using stock. My mouth shut, you know.
Of course.
I can't
That's your
believe these
secret.
guys that picked this up.
Yeah, that's your secret. Oh, that's funny. Well, I mean, you guys, I can't thank you enough for this. So there was a time a few years ago that, you know, I didn't think that this was ever going to happen. Like I said, that this was at the top of my list. But I thought that this wasn't going to happen. You know, Tom, you had a really scary incident there that sent you to the hospital for a while. And man, I was scared to death that this was never going to happen. Tell me a little bit about that before we get out of here.
All right. Well, you're talking about Binky Tapscott. Binky Tapscott took his kids racing, and then his kid got hurt at home, got a concussion, and
Yep.
the doctor told, you know, kid can't go racing anymore. So everything kind of stopped. And so Binky got in his head, he wanted to have a collection of 3 and 4 wheelers. So he's letting Jody Bateman at JB refurbish all these bikes and 200X, and they're cool as shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a call from Binky. He says, Tom, I'm going to come see you. So he brings me a 350X motor, and he says, Tom, I want you to build this motor for me like American Honda is going to go racing again, and I don't care what it costs.
Okay.
I have never had that kind of comment. I don't care what it costs.
Right.
And he says, I want my motor gold like you did for Travis Spader one time. And
Binky's the best, by the way. He's the coolest guy.
Oh, yes. So anyway, he takes the chassis out to Jody at JB. His instructions would have been the same as mine. I don't want this thing to be 1985. I don't want this thing to be 2018, 2019, with the best of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of course, I got to build an exhaust system for this thing that looks like American Honda.
Right.
How am I going to do that? So I spent like $2,000 in material to build this pipe.
Okay.
I get it all done. And of course, I got the motor done. Binky picked it up, took it out to Jody's, and then they put it in up there, brought it back to me to build the pipe.
Okay.
So now we're talking June of 2018.
Yep.
And the bike's all done. I mean, this thing is gorgeous. You don't dare touch it.
Okay.
Obviously, the carburetor that's on it, air tube and all that, I haven't started because I gotta get it started and set the idle mixture and all that. And so Brad Fiesler, one of my customers, comes down, drops off his kid's 4-stroke, and he's noticing the bike. He says, I knew that was here. Did you fire it up yet? And I says, no, it's ready to run, but I haven't. Well, I'm not doing nothing the rest of the day, so I'll help you. You want me to kick it? I says, go ahead. So he kicked it like 10, 12 times. I says, stop. Can't scratch this bike. Well, I got a tow strap in the truck. I says, well, go get it. We'll pull it with my lawnmower.
Oh, boy.
So I remember all this. We put the tow strap on it, tie it to the front forks, hook it to my lawnmower, and that's about as far as I remember. According to Brad, he says the bike started right up. I'm on the 3-wheeler. And of course, I always go riding with no helmet because I want to listen to what's going on.
Okay.
And Brad's taking it off of the lawnmower. I said, just roll it up. I'll sit on it. So I sit on it and I go down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I don't come back. And Brad comes looking for me. He sees me laying in the road dead with a big river of blood coming out of my head. And of course, he thinks I'm dead.
Yeah.
There's no cell phone service. I'm only a mile away.
Sure.
And he comes back home, calls my wife, tells her something really bad's happened to Tom. Call the 911. And UPS is out front and traveling down the road. So while Brad's waiting for my wife, he asked the driver to go down and keep a check on me so someone doesn't run me over.
Sure.
And then my wife goes the wrong way. So Brad comes back down. He sees me trying to get up. I'm a bloody mess.
Sure.
I can't hardly walk. And they load me up in Brad's pickup truck, load the 3-wheeler up, and come back to the shop. My wife is there, and then they call the paramedics, and they LifeStar me to Erie. They put me on life support for, I don't know, 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And then they sent me to Pittsburgh. So, and then of course, no one told. I said, "What I crashed on?" He said, "We crashed on an ATV. You had a stroke and you crashed." I says, "I didn't have no friggin' stroke," and like I don't remember nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So and then Brad finally says, "Oh, you crashed on Binky's 350X." I'm like, "You got to be kidding!"
Oh no.
That special bike.
Yeah.
Now, something hit me in the head, ripped all the flesh off my head. I had 16 staples putting this chunk of meat back on.
Oh boy.
And in the center of it, something busted my skull. A circular fracture. And of course, I had a peace sign in the middle of that circle where it must have buckled my skull.
Sure. Yep.
Luckily for me, that was probably the leak that saved me from getting, my brain pressured up.
Understand. Yeah. Yep.
So then I broke 7 ribs. 4 of them were broken off the top and bottom of your rib cage completely.
Okay. Jeez.
Having said that, my road is tar and chip. I had no road rash on my hands, my knees, nothing. And of course, my wife said I broke my collarbone also. And I'm moving my shoulder up and down. Well, obviously, I didn't know which collar broke.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I go home and I run to the garage and I look at the 3-wheeler. The 3-wheeler's perfect. It's not torn. And then I look at the handlebars and I see the toe strap over the handlebars going down to the left foot peg and it's hooked. And I look at it, I pull it out. I've only got like 1/3 of the toe strap. So I already knew what happened.
Yeah.
Looking up at the handlebars, your front brake cover, that little,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It looked like the 3-wheeler went like that, come down upside down, and it landed right there.
Okay.
It foobarred that cover.
Mm-hmm.
That cover's what hit me in the head, ripped my skull open.
Oh my goodness.
The thumb throttle was down underneath the handlebar, and it hit the gas tank twice. And of course, you would first think the thing landed on my head. Well, that's not possible because it would have drove my face into the pavement.
Right. Yep.
So apparently when I'm probably going 60, 70 mile per hour. And when that toe strap got caught in the chain of sprockets, it would have pitched that thing sideways and catapulted up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And probably when it bounced, when I'm coming down, it kleptoed me in the head.
Sure. Yeah.
At the same time, I'm going to guess it kleptoed me in the chest with the seat. And it broke my collarbone that way.
Okay.
That's why I didn't have a shoulder injury.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yep.
Didn't have a shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
So it crushed my chest so bad from clobbering that friggin' seat. And that was the only thing wrong with that 3-wheeler.
Jeez.
So Jody picked it up, fixed the gas tank, and you'd never know it was crashed.
Oh my gosh.
So then Jody says, "You still want to tune this thing?" I says, "Absolutely." "You want me to bring it back?" I says, "No, I'll come out to your place," because he's only an hour away.
Yeah. Yep.
I get out there and his wife is yelling at him, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm going to come ride that 3-wheeler." "No, you're not."
Oh, Debbie.
I said, "Yes, I am."
You had unfinished business.
I said, "Yeah, my wife maybe bring a helmet."
Yeah. You had unfinished business with that thing. Well, that's a crazy story. I've never really known the details. I knew you were test riding something, knew something crazy happened, but didn't know.
Oh, I'm like, these people I had a whole bunch of flat track. I had a bunch of motors apart. These people are going to kill me. I'm going to get fired. And of course, that all got solved because people were so bummed out that I was hurt.
Oh my gosh. I remember it being such a dire time. I was so scared. I mean, because, we've considered you a family friend for 20 years, right? So, I mean, to think that happened and just, I mean, we know the stories
so anyway,
of how you test stuff. I mean.
So, yeah. So then, Binky bought me, I kept that DRZ until 2018.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we were always going to let somebody ride it and run the Pro-Am class or something with it.
Yeah.
I was going to let Graham do it, but I told him, I said, "You got to buy your own plastic."
Sure.
I don't care about the motor. But you can't be damaged in my plastic.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, now that thing is in its rightful home, right? In Binky's museum. Couldn't have asked for a better spot for that thing to be.
That 350X is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Doug Gust's bike is still gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
We got it prepared to go and finish the season in 2003. All the bikes, new plastic on a brand new LTZ, and of course, brand new plastic or bumpers and Nerf bars on the DRZ.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that
yeah,
thing's perfect.
That
thing's perfect. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Well, I'm just so grateful that you're able to be here and spend this time with me and do all this stuff. I can't thank you enough for your time. I mean, this has been so much fun. This has been as much fun as I've had in a long time here on the show.
You need to shave, Cody. You're getting too much of a beard.
Well, like I said at the beginning, you remember me as a little guy, so it's been a little time since then. But man, I could listen and I could sit here and listen to these stories for hours and hours. So again, I got to thank Marty again for making this happen, all the behind the scenes work. I can't thank you enough for that, Marty. And Tom, man, you're an absolute legend. This has been the honor of my life to sit here with you and chat with you, my friend. I can't wait to share this episode with all of our listeners. I'm so very thankful.
Crazy stuff. You know, I'm just a normal guy who wears jeans and puts his pants on the same as anybody else.
Everybody wants to hear what you have to say, Tom. So I'm excited to share that with everybody. And again, I'm so thankful for you and your time, buddy.
Well,
You're the man.
I still have a hard line. I'm still on the phone book. You call information, you can find me.
Yeah. Well, if you want to, you can share your phone number right now for how people can get a hold of you.
What's the shop number? I don't even have it. I don't even know it.
814 723 3514.
Perfect.
Got an answering service on it, so you can leave me a message. I'll call you back.
I love it. You're going to get some calls because we had a lot of people asking if you were still wrenching on stuff today. And Marty, I'm going to ask you if you could take your cell phone and shoot me some of the pictures of some of the stuff that Tom was showing us so I can post it on our social stuff.
Yeah, on his magazine he had.
If you could do that, I could
do that.
That would help me a ton.
What, this thing?
Yeah, if you could, any of the stuff you held up.
I'm trying to get this off of him, but he said it's the last one in existence, and I said, well, why don't you leave it here with me? I'll hold on to it for you.
Yeah, there's the gold. There's Travis Motor right there.
See, we gotta have the pictures of some of this stuff for sure.
I'll get them sent over.
I have the original. Yeah, that's the dual carb.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's me in Canada. I got to ride the bike back around the track after Dale Singleton won.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. That is incredible.
And then that's me on my 250. That's my 200X at Ashtabula coming out of the bowl.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. That stuff that's history right there.
That would be Travis.
Okay. Yeah.
This is the ATV Insider magazine.
Mm-hmm. I remember those like it was yesterday. Those are the best. Yeah. Like I said, if you can shoot me some of those pictures, because then they'll be nice and clear for us to post. That'd be great.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Well, let's Tom again and Marty, thanks so much for your time. Let's plan to do this again sometime. This can't be the last time.
I'd shake your hand if you were right there.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Well,
I know there were some of those DRZ haters out there on the post, and I challenge them. If there's a pro this year at Pine Lake that wants to ride it, we'll put them on it. And you can't tell me that thing won't keep up with any of these new quads, because it will.
Hey, you said that earlier, and I thought to myself, somebody's going to reach out. So
I hope somebody challenges it and wants to ride it.
Yeah.
You know, these guys, a lot of these corners on these tracks are 180 degrees, slow things, you know, and they're dusty and ruddy.
Yeah.
They're not going to be 11,000 RPM anywhere.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right. And that torque monster behind you is ready to rip.
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
that's awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys. Tom, you're the best. And like I said, let's do this. Let's plan on doing this again sometime soon. Maybe around Ashtabula when somebody else wants to ride that thing.
Tom comes to Pine Lake. That's about all we get him to. So I mean, you should come down.
I'm gonna have to make a trip. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a trip.
All right, Cody.
Awesome, guys.
Say hello to your dad.
I will. Thanks so much, guys. That's legendary engine builder and engine builder of the Stars, TC Racing Engines, Tom Carlson, right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, brought to you by CST Tires. CST Tires, Pulse MXR tires, and more are available at shop.csttires.com today. Thanks so much, Tom. Marty, thanks so much, guys.
Yep.
We'll see you soon.
Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Yeah.
Man, I don't know about you, but I wasn't ready for Tom to be done. Tom actually called me the day after this conversation, and we chatted for another hour and a half, and the stories were flowing once again. I told him to save them for the podcast, so my hope is in the wake of this amazing episode, he jots down a couple notes in a little notebook that he's got there, and we can do this all again in the near future. Give me all the Tom Carlson I can get. Major thanks to tonight's guest, Mr. Tom Carlson, the legend himself from TC Racing Engines. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother, for all his hard work. Thanks to Brooke and AMA official Harv Whipple. Thanks to all of our donors. You know who you are. We appreciate you so much. And thanks to all of our partners. CST Tires. Go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Nemura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymower Financial Group, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Binky's Forever ATC Museum. A special shout out to Impact Solutions and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. Support all the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. You can find it all on our website, and be sure to click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner for all your gear and parts needs and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Signups for ATV Fantasy are open, so head over to atvfantasy.com today. And also, you can check out our fresh batch of merch just launched at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. If you're looking for another easy way to help support us, visit our website and click the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee buttons. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to support our efforts. As always, you can give us a call using our voicemail line, 920-569-3519. That number is 920-569-3519. Follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content, coverage, and more fun stuff as the season rapidly approaches. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links, and discount codes, show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. Be a friend, tell a friend, please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, for Tom Carlson, Brooke Jansen, Dallas Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to and making us the most listened to podcast in ATV racing, with over 199,000 downloads last month in 101 total countries. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the Stars of ATV Motocross. See you next week as 5-time Euro champ Kevin Saar and his new team owner Brett Musig of the Musig Racing and Repair Team join the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gust, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quad dudes are freaking gnarly.